Hi, I'm Amy from King Arthur Flour, and this is my daughter Grace. It's so nice to see you again. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had you over to bake. Today we're going to be making one of our favorite recipes. We're going to be making popovers. So these are popovers. You may have had them before, you may not have. They are really fun, easy, and delicious. So I think you're going to have a good time. Let me just put those off to the side. So we're getting ready to bake. So we have washed our hands, we've read our recipe, we've pulled our hair back, we've gotten out all of our ingredients and all of our tools, and we're getting ready to go. In reading our recipe, one thing I want to point out is that you're going to need to preheat your oven to 450 degrees. This can take a while, so make sure you do that first. All right? So today, one reason why I like to make popovers is that we get to make them in the blender. So it's just fun, easy, and very few dishes. If you don't have a blender, you can use your KitchenAid. You can also use a bowl and a whisk. We have 5 ingredients. We have eggs, milk, all-purpose flour, salt, and melted butter. And we're gonna add things into our blender in that particular order. So we're gonna start with eggs first. It calls for 4 eggs. I don't know if any of you are comfortable cracking eggs, so I'm gonna give you just a few tips. The first thing is that when we're making this recipe, we want our eggs and our milk to be lukewarm at room temperature. When things are at room temperature, they're just going to blend much more easily. If they were cold and we put our melted butter into our cold milk and our cold eggs, our melted butter would probably solidify a little bit. So if you can either just leave your eggs and milk out for a while if you want, or you can just put some warm water in the bowl for your eggs and they'll get nice and warm. And I just put the milk in the microwave for like 20 seconds and it's a perfectly good temperature. When you're cracking your eggs, you don't want to hit the side of your bowl because that will actually push some of the eggshells into your egg and you could get some shells in there. You just want to tap it on a flat surface like that, enough for you to put your thumbs in there and break it open. If you're concerned about getting some shells in your bowl, you can just do one at a time into a smaller container and then you can just go ahead and pour it in. Do you want to do some? Grace is learning to crack eggs. So if you mess up, we'll just get another one out of the refrigerator. It's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm confident in my egg ability.
I'm not. Oh,
perfect. Want to do the next one? Maybe, is that enough? A little bit more. There you go. That was good. All right, so we have our eggs, a cup and a half of milk. I like to use whole milk. So pour that in there. We have a cup and a half of all-purpose flour. So we want our batter to be nice and thin because we're going to need it to be a light, thin batter so that our popovers pop. So all-purpose flour is a good choice for that. I have made this with probably up to a half a cup of white whole wheat flour. So you could try a cup of all-purpose and half a cup of white whole wheat, but for today I'm going to use all-purpose flour. So a cup and a half. So with our flour for a King Arthur recipe, you want to spray it all over your counter, as I do. We're going to fluff, sprinkle, and sweep. So we're going to get our flour nice and loose, sprinkle in a cup, and then sweep off the top. And then Grace, the next thing we're going to do is measure half a teaspoon of salt. So if you'd like to find the half teaspoon on our measuring spoons. That was a 1 cup. I need 1.5 cups. It's good for me to actually look at the recipe as I'm going along. A half a teaspoon. So it might say 0.5.
Yeah, it says 1/2.
All right, do you want to go ahead and open that up? Scoop to overflowing and level off. Okay. Excellent. And then this is 3 tablespoons of melted butter. And pour that in. All right, so I'm gonna put this on my blender. It's gonna be really loud for a little bit. So we're gonna blend this for about 20 seconds. Then we're gonna pause. We're gonna get a spatula. We're gonna scrape down the flour that builds up on the sides and blend it for about another 10 seconds. While I'm doing this, would you mind getting one of the wooden spatulas that has a little red end from the drawer? A little loud. Have to 20. blender, you can see that the flour sometimes gets stuck on the side. So just take a spatula and just scrape it down. Just make sure you get it all. You don't want any left in there. Oh, thank you. Do not stick your spatula into a blender when it is on. You will get hurt. Your blender will go all over the place. It's not safe. All right.
Basically, it's just not a good idea.
It is not a good idea. Do you see any more flour? We're good? Okay.
Okay.
So now we'll blend it maybe another 10 seconds or so. Okay. All right. So as many times in baking, we need to wait. So this is going to sit for 15 minutes and just rest. Just put that over there. So while it's resting, I want to talk to you about our choices for pans. So we have two choices. You can make these in a muffin tin, which are great. You would make 12 little popovers. When you spray this and grease this, you want to get not only the insides, but also the top, because the popovers are going to pop over and you don't want them to stick to the edge. Today, we're going to put these in a popover pan. So I like to I can say, I don't usually like to have things in my kitchen that only have one job. I like them to do multiple things. The exception is my popover pan. I love my popover pan. It's gonna make 6 beautiful popovers, and when they come out, they're gonna be really nice and big like this. So why do our popovers pop? So in our past lessons, we've been talking about different leavening agents. So when we made bread, we talked about yeast. When we made muffins, we talked about baking soda and baking powder. The third leavening agent that we have to use in baking is steam. So what's going to happen is that in our batter, in our hot oven at 450 degrees with our nice room temperature batter, it's nice and thin. The water in that is going to turn to steam. And as the outside cooks, the steam is going to push that up, right? And it's actually the protein in the eggs this time, which are going to stretch and expand and become firm when they bake, that's going to hold it up like that. So if I were to take a bread knife, which I have over here, and cut open my popover, you can see that it's hollow inside. So that's just a big bubble of steam. All right, so we're gonna let this sit for 15 minutes and then we'll be right back to fill our popover pan. Okay, so our batter has had 15 minutes to rest, and we're gonna get ready to put them into our popover pan. One thing I wanted to mention, right now these are basically plain. After this batch comes out of the oven, we'll talk about different things that you can eat with them, which are wonderful. But you can make herb or savory popovers, and if you wanted to do that, you would take just a teaspoon of herbs and you'd add it to your blender and you would blend it in. And that, if you were gonna have it with soup or salad, that would be good. All right. I think that for some kids it could be hard to pour directly from your blender, so I'm gonna go ahead and just pour it into my larger measuring cup and get out as much as I can. And then Grace, if you want to fill these, that would be good. And I like to start maybe doing like just a little bit over half and get, then each about half full, then I can go back and finish off with what we have left. So you can see that our batter is really thin. Let me know if you want me to turn this for you.
I think that'll be okay.
You want me to go like this? By the time we get it all out, they're going to be mostly full. And the same thing if you were doing this in a muffin. Yep, so I would just go back, I would put a little more in these three, I think.
Yeah.
So again, if you don't have a popover pan, don't worry. We made these, we've practiced a couple of times this week, and we made some in our muffin pan, and they were great. I think you liked them better out of the muffin.
They were really cute.
They were really cute.
They were tiny and really easy to eat.
And you feel like you got more.
Yeah, I ate like 6. Okay.
All right, so we're gonna put this in our oven. It is 450 degrees. There are 2 parts to this baking. We're gonna put them in at 450 degrees and set the timer for 20 minutes. When the timer goes off, I'm going to lower the temperature to 350 degrees and leave them in for another 10 minutes. But I am not going to open the door in between. All right, so here we go at 450 for 20 minutes. My timer. And we'll be back in half an hour. All right, the timer's gone off, so we're gonna take these out of the oven. Again, have a grown-up take things out of the oven for you. Oh my gosh. Look at how huge these are. They have totally popped up. All right, so what you need to do, especially if they're big like this, can you guys see the steam coming out? I'm gonna take my knife and I'm just gonna make a little hole. And that's gonna let the steam out. Otherwise, that steam's gonna get trapped inside and it'll get soggy. So popovers are something that you wanna eat pretty soon. In a couple of hours, these aren't gonna be quite as good. One thing that I realized, another tip I can share with you, and I realized it while it was baking, sometimes with my popover pan, some of the batter will fall out and fall to the bottom of my oven and get really, really smoky. So you can put them in the oven on a baking sheet, and that will hopefully help that or reduce that from smoking and burning in the bottom of your oven. So when these come out, you can eat these so many ways. You can put jam on them. You can fill them with scrambled eggs. You can have them with soup. One of my favorite ways to do it is to take this out. You guys can see. Grace, do you want to do it? This is also one of Grace's favorites. So she's going to put butter down in the hole, and then we're going to pour maple syrup in there. And that's going to get it all nice and warm. And then when you open it up, it's all melty inside. Do you need to make the hole bigger? Don't burn yourself with the steam. All right, ready?
And then just
pour your maple syrup in.
get it around a little bit to on the thing so it drips down.
We gotta go like this.
Yeah.
And then when you open it, your butter and your maple syrup are all melted and it's so good. So that's one of our favorite ways of baking these.
I'm gonna eat that.
These are all going to be gone probably within an hour. So just to review, we read our recipe, we got out our ingredients, we used our blender, all of our ingredients were at room temperature. We explored our third leavening agent, which was steam. You can eat these for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and pretty much any time in between. So thank you so much for joining us again this week. It's been great seeing you, and we'll see you again next week. And with all your baking at home, we can't wait to see what you're doing. So please go ahead and share your baking with us at kingarthurflower.com or #bakewithus. Thank you so much.